Hi there. I have these gorgeous gel prints on my desk today, and I am going to try my first collage. I have zero expectations of how this is going to turn out. We've had Baltimore Orioles in our main backyard this year for the first time, and I'm super excited about them, so I'm going to try to collage an Oriole. First, I put down a layer of watercolors. Now, these watercolors are nothing precious to me, and they're not really something I want to use on a regular basis because they're just not, they're not my favorites. They're not like the Daniel Smith or the Core or even the Holbein gouache. It's just a inexpensive watercolor that I thought would be perfect. So I put a background down just really, really roughly of where I wanted a branch and where I wanted the bird. And I am going to use my gel prints torn into pieces, and I'm going to apply them to the page with Matte Medium by Liquitex. Many years ago, probably in my teens, my mom and I went to this art gallery, and I saw this huge collage piece on the wall, and I think it was a blue heron, and it was just absolutely beautiful. And I thought, someday I'm going to try collage. Fast forward to 2024, and I try gel printing for the first time ever, and it's severely addicting in a wonderful way. I love it so much. And I realized that these would be perfect for gel printing. I wouldn't have to go out and buy fancy papers, and the decision of which papers to buy would not be there because I'm creating something that I enjoy already. I really like what I'm making with gel prints. Some have big patterns, some have tiny patterns, some have no patterns. So I'm building a nice collection of pretty papers that I know that I love. So it's really fun. I really love it. So what I wanted to share today, since I had no expectations of how this was going to turn out, and trust me, I know it's not good. I still love it. Even though it's not great, I still love it because it was fun. Anyway, what I learned today. So one thing I learned is the watercolor background. That did not work well. I don't know if it's because of the paper that I used, which was Canson Montval watercolor paper, or if it's because the watercolor that I used, or maybe watercolor was just a bad idea to begin with. But when I was putting on the matte medium in a layer to apply the torn paper, it was pulling up a layer of the watercolor and it was mixing in with the matte medium and it was making it muddy. And I can see it in some of the torn pieces. They don't look white. They look dirty. They just don't look pretty. So I would change that. I don't think that I will use watercolor next time. I think I will probably use acrylic for the background. I do like having the background. It was necessary because otherwise it would just be a white page with a bird and a branch. It just wouldn't have worked well. However, when I do the acrylic, I will be more mindful of the colors I'm using and if they'll be a little too similar to the colors that I'm putting down on the page, because for the branch, not the branch, but the leaves on the branch, it was a little too close. The colors I was using for the leaves was a little too close to the color of the background, and that was annoying. So I will be more mindful of maybe using a contrasting color, not contrasting, but a better color, just a better choice. Just leave it at that. I will use a better choice background color, and I will think about it before I do it, because the first time I didn't really think about it. I just went in without thought because that's how I typically do things. I just jump in without thought. That's not true. It depends on what it is. Sometimes I think about it too much. Sometimes I don't think about it enough. That's just how I roll. So I did go over the entire thing in the end. Once I was done, I went over the entire thing with the matte medium, just a light coat of the matte medium, because I could tell the area that I had done with the bird and the branches had a different sheen than the rest of it, and I didn't like that. So I wanted that sort of sheen over the entire thing. So that was a step that I did not include in this video, but I think you get the point. The next thing is tearing the paper. Yes, I already knew that tearing it a specific way would give a white edge on the front of the paper. Of course, I've been tearing paper since a child. I understand that. It didn't occur to me how much I would have to think about it when I was going to tear it. I don't know why I didn't think about that, but I would start to tear and be like, oh man, I forgot to think about it. So that I would have to fix it, or I just embraced it and put it on anyway. Because I didn't want to have to keep fixing, I just wanted to roll with what I was doing. So yes, I tore some differently than I wanted to, but overall, I think it's fine. It was a learning experience, and that was kind of the whole point. So I did use scissors on some of them. In fact, right there, I use scissors for the white piece that is going on the wing. And I think it looks a little odd to have torn and then cut pieces. I didn't feel that way when I put on the beak, but I do on the wing for some reason. So I think I'll try to commit to either scissors or tearing in my next few collages to see if I like one or the other, and then compare it to this one to see if it really, really mattered. Like, did I need to do that, or was it okay combining the two? I think it's probably personal preference. I think there's probably plenty of collage artists out there that are doing both. I just don't know what I want to do for mine. It's, experimentation time for me, and I'm having a great time with it, actually. The next thing is, go back to this. So you can see right there on that piece that I laid down on the branch, you can see the white edges. And watching the video, I don't dislike that. I just think I need to be more mindful of whether I will care or not in the final piece. And, right now, I don't really care, but I might in the future once I'm getting better at it. I might care, but I'll just keep it in mind. I will keep it in mind from now on as I move forward, which I already have a plan for the next one. I think I'm going to do a fox, because we have a fox that's been coming to our yard. I think it lives a couple lots over on the, there's an empty lot. I think it's living over there, like in the woods. And I actually just saw it out my window. We live along the river, and it's out there along the river, probably looking for some tasty morsels to eat. So since this Oriole is inspired by the Orioles that have been coming to my yard, maybe the next one will be a fox. Though it'll still use all my orange paper. I'll have to make more orange paper. Yay. So the next thing is painting. I kind of feel like it would be fun to paint the entire piece in acrylic and then just add paper collage accents. So maybe that's what I'll do with the next one. Maybe I'll actually paint a pretty painting, not perfect, but pretty, and then add accents where I want it. So maybe in the fox or in some reeds that are sticking up, or grasses or something like that. I think I'll try that, because the watercolor background here, I'm not digging it. Maybe because I didn't spend time on it. I just quickly throw it down. There's like that. There's a couple cauliflowers or blooms, whatever you want to call them, in various areas. And like in the bottom right corner, it's a little bit dark, but not blended well. So I think I definitely want to try acrylic background of a pretty painting and add collage where I want it, not over the whole thing. Of course, there's also the thought of using paper for the whole thing, but I think that I'm going to have to get used to it before I can do that. I don't know how good I would be at that, because that was mean. That was mean. I put myself down right there, and that wasn't okay. I just don't think that I have the hang of this yet. And so I want to get used to using it and come in with a game plan before I do that. I also think it could be useful to have some tweezers in my art space, because there were teeny tiny pieces and they kept sticking to my fingers with the matte medium. So I think if I got some tweezers, that would be helpful. I also wonder what it would be like using Mod Podge instead of matte medium. The matte medium it's fluid and it's very thin and slippery. And I kind of wonder what it would be to have something a little more tacky right off the bat, like a Mod Podge. So I might try that with the next one too. Here I was going to try a little bit of blue for the beak, and it didn't work. It was way too blue. I think blue would have been pretty in this painting though, because of the orange. It would have been a nice complement, but it was just too bright to have blue for the beak when it was more like a bluish gray. Though I probably could have put the blue down and then gone over it with a light layer of white acrylic to tone it down a little bit. See, that's where I'm wondering if adding acrylic accents and things could be a really fun addition. Again, more experimentation will be in my future for sure. Oh, and those legs. Oh my goodness. The legs. Those are just little stumps. I wasn't quite sure I was going to handle those, so I just put little stumps in. And at the end, you'll see in the final picture, I used a white Posca pen to put in the little toes. And I also put in some accents like along the branch and on the leaves. And I'm using the Posca pen for the eye. Oh, that made a big difference, didn't it? I did cut out a bunch of leaves because tearing them was not easy to get that leaf shape. They just kind of look like blobs. So I did cut some, and actually I do like them. I like how they turned out. So maybe the tearing and cutting can live harmoniously together. I just need to figure out how to get them to look harmonious. Maybe that's the struggle there. I feel like if I had put in like a light gray background, maybe everything would have stood out a little bit better than having the green. So I'm about to wrap it up. Please let me know what you think in the comments. Please like and subscribe while you're here. It really would help my channel if you would do so. Thank you so much for joining me, and have a great day. Bye-bye.